Not much beats an F1 car at full throttle, except perhaps a Salmon, without the fuel bill. Ross Brawn spent his career building the fastest machines humans have ever made. Today he finds out nature got there first. Season 3 of The Last Salmon is in partnership with Loop, driving change for wild fish and wild places.
F1 teams are notoriously obsessive about detail. Tyre strategy, aerodynamics, power units. I know you're a fly fisherman. Do you approach the river with that same engineering mindset?
I over-prepare. Whatever I do, I over-prepare. So I do a lot of overseas trips. And I go with a mountain of stuff and use about 1% of it. Because I have every fly for every occasion, rods, reels, lines, and I use a fraction of it. But I'm not comfortable unless I've got all that available. And that's part of my mindset. And I think that mindset is what was ideal for motor racing. Because motor racing, you know, there's a saying I like to have, which is luck is preparation waiting for an opportunity. So what that means is you're prepared for everything. So whatever happens, you're prepared for it.
Ready.
You're ready. And it looks like you've been lucky, but you were prepared. And my fishing sometimes strays into that territory. So here it's lovely just to have an impromptu thrash around.
Yeah.
But that's when I'm doing a proper trip. I over-prepare.
So it sounds like you pack a rod every time you go away on business.
I did, yeah. I mean, some countries more than others. So I fished in Australia, America. I've diverted off to the Bahamas on the way to the Canadian Grand Prix.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, so I've had plenty of fun experiences, and as fly fishing's opened up, so you can fly fish in a lot more places, particularly salt water. Then I've fished some great places connected to races. Australia was a favourite, so I'd go up the east coast.
Yeah.
Malulavat Bay, Fraser Island, and all those. That was good fun. I fished the Adirondacks because we used to have a race in Montreal. Well, I have a race in Montreal. We used to have a race in Detroit, so we'd drive down and I'd stop in the Adirondacks and have a few days there. So I was always looking for an opportunity when I was traveling.
That's exactly what I do. Whenever my work takes me away,
Yeah.
the second thing I do, well, the first thing I do nowadays actually, is to see if there's a river there that will take a fly rod. And when you say we, have you gathered a bit of a troop around you to go fly fishing? Or is it your solitary escape from the madness of it all?
Occasionally. I mean, the early days, a driver called Eddie Cheever was very keen. So Eddie and I would always try and find somewhere to fish connected to a race. And he was a bit hyper. You know, my fly fishing for me is to move into a different environment, almost a different culture, and switch off from the motor racing.
Yeah.
Eddie couldn't. He sort of operated at the same pace in fly fishing as he did in Formula One. So that was always... John Watson's another good friend who's a keen fisherman, and we were in Iceland together last year. So there is a little bit of a fly fishing or fishing community in Formula One, but it's not so strong.
I'm guessing that might be because when you are on location during an F1 race and it's very high octane and it's a very laser focused experience, fly fishing is that, but without the energy, I'm guessing, or the adrenaline. Would that be fair to say? And I don't know whether it might be quite hard to juggle the two on a race meeting weekend.
Yeah, I think one of the things that enabled me to survive as long as I did in motorsport was I'm very good at compartmentalizing. So I can, and it kind of drives my wife mad sometimes because I compartmentalize, do that, then I move on. She's got everything going at the same time. And she can't understand why I have to move from segment to segment. So I could do that with my fishing.
Right.
I could go off fishing and I could blank out everything else. And in fact, that was one of the reliefs, that I had something I could blank out everything else. And one of the great things about fly fishing is so active. You know, people think you're sat by a riverbank. You're not. You know, first of all, there's a casting, which is a sport in its own right. And then there's the strategy and the tactics, and have you got the right fly, are you approaching it properly, are you there at the right time, all that sort of stuff. So it's a mini version of motorsport in a way, in that you're trying to tackle all those things. But I was good, or I'm good at compartmentalizing, so I could go off fishing and not think about anything else. And that, I think, was one of the reasons I was able to stay at it over 40 years. So
40 years. And is there a Brawn GP level of innovation setup that you use? I mean, I'm guessing, Ross Brawn, the kit that you use and the setup and the way you put it together has to be absolutely perfect.
Yeah, this aspect of preparation, I hate having anything that's going to let me down.
Yeah.
And I'm fastidious with my tackle, so there's certain rods I like, and I try and stick with those. There's certain reels that I know are very well engineered.
Yeah.
So I use Mako reels for my saltwater, which I think is probably one of the best.
Yeah.
And all of that, so I don't want to even think about it when I'm fishing and when I'm fighting a fish.
Right.
You know, that stuff should be seamless.
Yeah.
And so I'm pretty particular in sorting all that out. If I've got a line with a abrasion on it, it drives me nuts.
Right.
You know, I'm casting and I can, or just that rough line, I have to change the line, or So, that is one of my peculiarities, I guess. But
well, I don't think it's. I mean, fly fishermen are very meticulous on the whole. Are you one of those fishermen then that spends as much time on the riverbank changing their tackle, changing their line, changing their leader, changing their fly as you are actually fishing?
No, that's
Right.
the sort of interesting thing. I do believe in the sort of priorities, and in terms of catching fish and presenting. The fly may not be critical, but presenting it the right way, and approaching it the right way. And I was brought up through course fishing, so my first passion in fishing was course fishing, and I was a carp fisherman in the days of Rod Hutchinson and all those guys, Chris Yates, and the early days when it was really innovative.
Yeah.
But it wasn't prescribed. It feels like carp fishing now is fairly prescribed. You know exactly what to do.
Yeah.
I mean, the hair rig was invented when I was carp fishing. So that came along and that revolutionized what we were doing. So, I learned some rivercraft and I learned some strategy and when I see someone walking along a riverbank, doing this, I think, blimey, how many fish is he scaring?
Yeah, sure.
And, I'm sort of trying to hide behind a bush. I'm not as agile as I used to be, but I'm trying to hide behind the bush. The river here, we keep the banks fairly high up because I think, you can get in there and you can crouch and you can get close to fish. And I still hope I retain that appreciation that fish is a wild animal. And, if you spook it, it might not run off, but it won't feed.
Yeah.
You'll have a fish there that knows you're there and he'll hold his station, but he ain't going to take your fly. So all that sort of stuff is there.
You're an advocate for wild fish, and certainly it sounds like through the way you want to fish and catch them is the same. How do you feel about certain fisheries that are becoming or have been for years? There's a style of fishing, especially on some of these chalk streams, that is almost anti-wild fish, it seems to me, and it's they call it carpet slipper fishing, don't they? Where you can literally trundle down to the bank in your slippers. I think that's where it must come from. Cast a line, pull out a stock trout, and job done. Each to their own, I guess, but I'm not sure whether it's that kind of fishing is necessarily good for the river. Where do you stand on that? I mean, looking around, I know where you stand on it, but I'd love to hear your thoughts.
I think it's horses for courses, and it's not my sort of fishing. I've done it. I've been a guest on some waters, and it's been a nice day with friends, and it wouldn't be my first choice, but I can appreciate the appeal to it to some people. And the issue you touched on there, as long as it's not impacting the environment for the rest of the river, that's the key thing. And I think that's where it needs managing. We need to have limits and we need to have controls on those things. But that's not my style, but I can understand why some people
Yeah.
enjoy that. But the element of what impact it's having on the river needs to be understood, and we need to make sure that doesn't become excessive.
Do you think we are monitoring our rivers as well as we could be? Obviously, nowadays there's water quality monitoring that we're encouraged, as well, riparian owners are encouraged to use. Anybody really who has a vested interest or a stakeholder in the river. EA are being stripped of cash. We had a conversation off camera recently about the rural police not really being as engaged, I'm sure, through resources. Again, same excuse, same reasoning. Are you concerned that we're not perhaps caring for our rivers as much as we'd like? And I'm talking about chalk streams specifically.
Yeah, I think we have to be realistic. I mean, the UK, unfortunately, is not in a great place generally at the moment. I mean, you're driving around with roads which are disgraceful. We can't fix potholes in the roads. So these sort of what people might view as luxuries are going to slip back. And I think we have to fill the gap. I think that's the only solution. To expect governments to put priorities on the things we care about when they've got all these other issues they feel are more important. I don't feel they're more important, but they feel they are. If we just step back, and there'll just be a void up here. And the only solution is that we take action ourselves. And I support, I know all the organisations you do, wild fish, wild trout. I'm involved with the Tay Catchment Salmon Alliance and things like that. I'm just trying to help support those things as much as I can. And I think we have to recognise that if we don't start controlling those things and policing those things ourselves and making people accountable, the authorities accountable for what they should be doing, who else is going to do it? And whenever I have this argument with people about fishing, it's a cruel sport, you're sticking hooks in fish. I accept that. But if we care massively about the environment the fish are in. And if we weren't doing this, fish wouldn't be there. So there is a price to pay, which is we're fishing, but that price is small compared to the overall benefit that anglers and fishermen bring to the environment, bring to the rivers, because no one else would care.
And I understand the argument against fishing, whether it's catch and release or otherwise, but we are a necessary evil, for want of a better expression. We're going to bring it back to salmon. Where do you see the biggest opportunities for technology, innovation and engineering when it comes to the conservation of wild salmon? There's a question.
I've thought about this quite a bit, and one of the, if I could make a comparison, it's a bit diverse, but the government have said that they're not going to allow internal combustion cars to be sold after, it was 2030, now it's 2035. And we've all got to have EVs or whatever. They set the wrong objective. What they should have said was by 2030 or 2035, these are the emissions levels we're prepared to accept. Now you go off and find the solution that you think is the best solution, because everyone have EVs a whole set of different problems. But this is the objective. If you don't meet that objective, you're going to be penalised. Use your innovation, use your talent, use your engineers. And we're seeing all sorts of solutions evolving in other countries because they don't have that stupid constraint which says we're going to be EV full stop. The reason I mention that is I think we have to set the objectives and then work out how we're going to do. What is it we want to achieve, and what are the things which are most important? And salmon farming is high on the agenda of evils that we consider has an impact on salmon. Well, are we ever going to get rid of commercial salmon? Unlikely. Can we evolve the technology so it has much less impact? That's got to be the push. To expect it to stop, I think, is unrealistic.
I agree,
There must be technology, there must be innovation that can be evolved where the salmon industry are told this is where you're going to have to be in 10 years' time. If you're not there, we're shutting you down. And they'll find solutions.
Of course.
But that definitely is a very strong political issue. And how do we get to that point where we put the pressure on to say solutions have got to be found, or else we're shutting you down? Because people react, and people will then find the balance of profit and investment changes.
They'll adapt, won't they?
And that's where I think we have to somehow change things, because the human race is amazingly innovative. We find solutions. I mean, we all went through COVID. We thought it was the end of the world. And here we are, with solutions haven't been found or evolved. And so I'm a great believer that the human race will find solutions, but set them the objectives, don't tell them what the solution is, because you don't know what the solution is. You can't just say now, well, I think so how do we, and that's where I think progress can be made. We can find solutions. We're lacking data.
Yeah.
We're lacking data about what really happens with these salmon parr. What happens to them when they leave a river? Where are they predated upon? What's the, where do they get hammered? What happens to them out at sea? We don't have the information. And if there was sufficient investment, that would be one of the key things to find out what's happening. And then we could find out where we best put our efforts to improve things. There's loads of common sense stuff. I mean, we need to keep the rivers as cool as we can.
Yeah.
We need to keep them as clean as we can. We need to enable the fish to come up the rivers. So if they're poached or they're predated upon or there's obstacles, that's all common sense. We should be doing that. But at the core of it, we enter this debate, should we have hatcheries or not? Hatcheries seems like a band-aid. I understand why it can be appealing, but how do we get to the core of the problem? So the Take Ashford Salmon Alliance, which I'm proud to be the honorary president of, but it's a very small organisation.
Right.
We've just helped to fund the acoustic tagging of some parr, so we can see what happens to them as they go down the river.
Yeah.
Not a huge number, unfortunately, because it's quite expensive, but maybe we'll get some information from that. We've acoustically tagged 50 salmon parr. We get the results next month. To see how far they get down the river. Where do they stop? What's predating on them? Do they get that far? So just that information we need to try and make judgments.
It is that we need much more data on this very complicated life cycle that the Atlantic salmon has, and we do have data, pioneering data from the Atlantic Salmon Trust, who did that parr tagging with their West Coast tagging project. So what we discovered there, of course, was the migratory routes of the smolt and where they went as they made their journey out to sea. What we need, it seems to me, and some of the guests that we've had on this show, is the missing pieces of the jigsaw are further out in the open ocean. What happens to them off the Voring Plateau, where they feed off Norway, off Greenland, Faroes.
I mean, I understand there's no proper records of bycatch.
Not really, no, because they're not encouraged. The commercial fisheries aren't encouraged to. There's no rules around it. There's no incentive around it, and we're lobbying for having the salmon recognised. Would you believe it's not recognised as a marine mammal? A marine species. It's just seen as classified as a freshwater species at the moment, which of course means that there's no regulation or need to gather that data out at sea. So definitely there's a big need for that. As you've quite rightly pointed out, that's expensive. It's not insurmountable though. I think we should be getting, personally, I think aquaculture should be paying for that. They're using our seas, abusing our seas. Yeah. Let's have some funds to find out what's going on for our salmon. But it's also the technical and the hardware needs to get up to speed, I think, to gather this data. I think we need strong minds. The next generation, the next crop of brilliant young minds need to really be encouraged to be focusing on conservation, as opposed to AI or...
And whilst this is not a new problem, it is a relatively new problem. The severity is a relatively new problem. So, as young students, young engineers, young scientists coming through, this is a very real problem for them to get a hold of now. And we can hope that we can start to focus some of their attention on it.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Let's talk a little bit, if it's okay with you, let's talk a little bit about your incredible life and your professional life. I've done a bit of digging. You never know whether you can trust Wikipedia or not, and anecdotal sort of stories from friends and fishermen. But you came up literally from pretty humble beginnings, didn't you?
Yeah. No, I was born in Manchester.
Likewise.
Yep,
Yep.
1954. My dad was he worked for Firestone, the tyre company, and he was passionate about racing. So when Firestone started to get involved in racing in the 60s, he was an obvious choice to help them. So he started working for the Firestone racing division and started traveling with that. And I got to go to a few races, and my dad raced go-karts, and he and I raced slot cars all around the country. So I kind of had that environment of competitiveness, engineering competitiveness from my dad, and that environment. And I always enjoyed the engineering aspect of race cars. So we moved down to the south of England, Reading. I went to Reading School. Didn't suit the academic environment so much, so I went off and did an engineering apprenticeship. And when that was finished, I was doing an HND in college, and I saw an advert in the local Reading Evening Post for a machinist, engineering machinist.
What's a machinist?
Working lathes and working mills and
Right.
cutting metal of all sorts. And I went along. I was interviewed by a chap called Patrick Head, who became one of the senior figures in motorsport in time. And we walked around. He kept picking up these bits and saying, can you make that? And I'd tell him how I'd do it. And anyway, I didn't hear anything for quite a long time. And then I got a call saying, would you like to come and join us? And I was 23 years old at the time, so I thought, great, I'll just go and do that for a while.
Who's us?
Well, I had a partner by then.
Right. No, but would you like to come and join us?
Williams.
Oh, that was Williams.
That was Williams Grand Prix Engineering.
Right.
Yeah, sorry. So so I went along, and just out of interest, why did it take you so long to make a decision? Well, the first guy came, didn't like it. You were our second choice.
Do we know who that first guy was?
I did meet him.
Right.
A guy called Jim Poole. So sliding doors, you know that?
Yeah.
Thing? So I thought I'll do it for a year, then I'll go back to college and do something sensible. And then 45, 46 years later, 47 years later, here we are.
So in those early days at Williams, what was your role? When you were a 23, 24-year-old boy?
Well,
really?
I had no responsibilities. I got married in 1977, but we didn't have any kids initially, and so we were independent, and it was a very small team, so I did everything. I mean, I machined the parts. I ended up designing some of them because I could do a bit of design work. I drove a truck to races sometimes because there were 11, 15 people there. So, you had to do everything. And the team ended up after 7 years with 200 people and 2 world championships behind us. Wow. So it was just a rocket ship of progress. And I was on the, hanging on to it, and I moved up through the organization. So I ended up with the grand title head of R&D.
but that's no small feat, right?
No, and I think great thing about motorsport is if you show the aptitude and you've got some capability and you show the commitment, you progress.
Yeah.
And that's still the same today, even though the teams are much bigger. If you show that correct approach and you've got some skills, then you can progress.
You will climb.
Yeah, and it sort of went from there.
I know as much as the next man about Formula One, I guess, but I'm not an obsessive fan. But one thing that we all assume is that it's a very high octane lifestyle, very glamorous, full of travel, glamour. Is that the reality of Formula
Well, you
One?
can tell me about your life.
Well, I will tell you my life isn't that.
Exactly.
But it might be that for one day a year or a
Exactly.
couple of days a year.
So
Is it the same?
you have your purple patches, particularly if you've won a race, and that moment is just is so precious and indescribable and wonderful. 99% of the time, or even more, it's a grind.
Yeah.
So it's airport, hotel, racetrack, hotel, airport. It's you're working late at the circuit. If you're doing your job, you'll be there often until midnight. and you get back, you're there the next day, and you get out of there as quick as you can.
Right.
So it's a pretty high level of commitment and a tough job, but I think the thing I loved about it most, it was a team
Collaborative.
sport. And I was working with like-minded people, very talented people, and seeing that all work and seeing that all function, and occasionally seeing it come together with a race win or even a championship, that was something very special and worth the grind and worth the commitment that was needed. But 99% of the time, it's just a grind. Yeah.
Give me some highlights of this nigh on 50-year career now.
Well, those first wins are Williams. I mean, we were, I say this with affection, but Frank was known as Wanker Williams.
I was going to ask about Frank, but I thought maybe I'll wait.
And so, Frank was a no-hoper. He had no one took him seriously. And then he partnered up with Patrick Head, who was a brilliant engineer. Frank found the money, Patrick designed the car, and it all came together, and suddenly we won a race. I think it was Silverstone 79 was our first race win, and then we won a championship.
Yeah.
And Frank had come from nowhere to achieve that, so that was a wonderful time, and of course very formative in my career. And then Benetton, meeting Michael Schumacher, working with Michael, forming a relationship with Michael was a very special time. Winning the championships with him, going to work in Italy for 10 years.
Oh, I didn't know that you worked in Italy for 10 years.
So I worked for Ferrari for 10 years. Still love Italy. Just came back from there. We were there last week. Still love Italy. And then we had the fairy story of Brawn GP, which was, it's history, but if you wrote the story, no one would believe it.
That's the next F1 movie, surely. Or maybe that was the kind of...
We've had the documentary, and there's been a few people approached us about the movie, but nothing's happened yet. So, but yeah, that was an unbelievable story, and it's definitely one of the highlights of my career.
When did Brawn GP? When did you first set that up?
2009 was the year we won.
2009, you won. But how many years was it in the making?
Well, I joined Honda at the end of 2007. Was building a team in 2008 as Honda.
Yeah.
Honda withdrew at the end of 2008, and we bought the team, myself and some of the other directors, and then we won the championship in 2009.
That's crazy, isn't it?
And then we sold it to Mercedes in 2010. So what's the Mercedes team now was the Brawn GP team and was the Honda team.
So was that the intention? I mean, because that's such a small slither of time to set anything up, a new team, win the championship, and then flog it.
No, none of it was intended. It was reactive.
Right.
We were reacting to the circumstances we were faced with, and there was the financial crisis in 2008. The people who wanted to buy the team were undesirables, and we didn't want to sell it to them. We took it over because there was no alternative. We'd worked everything out. What's the worst that could happen? We could walk away having made an attempt to keep it alive. And it all worked out for us. But we didn't have any longevity. I mean, that 2009 period was funded off the dowry Honda gave us to keep going. But raising sponsorship in 2009, even though we won the championship, was almost impossible with the crisis that was going on. So Mercedes all came together at the right time. Mercedes wanted their own team.
Yeah.
So we sold it. I worked there for 3 years. I had 3 years with them, and then stepped back, and I actually focused on this place then. Got this all sorted out.
More time for fishing.
Yeah. You've got to be careful having too much time though for fishing, haven't you?
Yeah.
Rationing your fishing is actually a good thing, I think.
I think so. Otherwise, it's too much of a good thing, isn't it? And then it becomes, it loses the joy a little bit. But there's, I guess, the beautiful thing about fly fishing is that it can take you all around the world. Yeah. And you can never have fished everywhere.
No, could try.
Some try.
I'm trying.
You're trying.
I'm trying.
But you fished all over the world, whether it's with Formula One, I'm guessing, whether it's outside of the work. Give me some highlights of where you've fished.
Well, my fishing has sort of become a little bit more polarized now into sort of certain trips during the year. And so early in the year, I go to the Seychelles.
Yeah.
So I love saltwater fishing. Is
this a new thing? Because saltwater fly fishing, I mean, I know it's been around for a few decades, but it's only recently, I'm saying recently in the last 10, 15 years, right, become as amenable, well, not as amenable, but I suppose as popular as it is now. Is that the same for you?
Yeah, and I think in some ways it's a bit of a reflection on the challenges of salmon fishing now. I mean, a lot of people I meet saltwater fishing are also salmon anglers who are persisting with their salmon fishing, but also they want something which is a little bit more achievable. But I've been at saltwater fishing a long time. I started in the Bahamas bone fishing, and so I've probably been doing it 20, 25 years.
Right. That was on the way to Montreal.
Yeah, yeah. So
Just a little pit stop.
We used to call in a Grand Bahama, and I had a guide there called Tommy who we fished there for a few years. And then the Seychelles opened up, so I was in at the beginning of the Seychelles opening up. And that is the best bone fishing in the world, without doubt. And still is the best bone fishing in the world, I think. And so I go there at the beginning of the year. I went there twice this year.
Normally to get out the damp winter, I'm guessing.
Yeah, well, I normally do a Cuban trip about April, May time.
What are you fishing for there, tarpon?
Tarpon, permit, bonefish. But Cuba's in a bit of a turmoil at the moment. So I fitted in the second Seychelles trip. I say that I've been honoured to go to the Alta this year.
Oh, have you?
So I went Well, I went last year, which was like
terrible.
Heaven. I caught 2 fish, but to them they were tiddlers. To me they were.
What were they? How big?
A 7 and a 10 kilo. So they were decent fish.
They're decent fish. Yeah.
They're decent fish, but they were like poof.
Yeah.
So. And I didn't think I'd get there again, and someone very kindly invited me again this year. So I'm going.
So you're going, or have you been?
June.
I'm going June.
So I've got that this year. And then end of July I go to Iceland.
Where in Iceland do you go?
Miðfjörður.
Oh yeah.
Lovely river. I've been going there a long time.
Is that Rappi's?
Yeah, Rappi, yeah.
Yeah. I've been there a few times. Yeah, I love,
great river.
Love that river. Yeah. Shout out to Rappi. Rappi, you haven't invited me for a few years now.
So, fished that at the end of July, and then August is with the family in Italy, and then September I go on the Tay. So I had a rod on the Tay for
whereabouts?
Tay Mount.
Oh, okay.
So I had a rod on the Tay for 15, 20 years. I actually had a half decent year last year. I had 4 fish, which.
Did you? In the
week, yeah.
In the week.
Yeah, 2 19s. So
in September.
Yeah. Because September's become a quiet month now. It used to be the peak.
Because nobody goes for that back end.
Yeah, the runs, well, there used to be this autumn run came through, but we seem to have lost the autumn run. So, and then that's probably it then for the season in terms of big trips.
Right.
But in between trout fishing with friends and...
It stacks up. What do you do then? I'm seeing a black hole here in your fishing calendar between September and January, February.
Yeah, I shoot.
Oh, okay.
So the shooting
Gotta keep you busy.
Yeah, shooting season takes over. So that's my passion in the winter months. And then the guns get put away after Christmas and the fishing starts.
And you dust down the rods.
Yeah.
Do you ever go out on the Pacifics or on the steelhead?
No, I've never done that. I've done steelhead. I've done steelhead a couple of times on a river called the Damderchaks.
Yeah.
And that was lovely. I really enjoyed that. It's a bit of a faff to get there, and
best places often are.
Yeah, so I had quite a successful second trip. The first trip was very much learning, and then the second trip I knew I was doing a little bit more, and had a really good second trip. So that was good fun. Steelhead are very special fish.
They are, and like salmon, they're also declining in numbers. So you do Scotland, Iceland, Norway. I'm lucky enough to be invited back to the altar. Tell me about your best salmon.
Well, strangely enough, it was probably almost my first salmon. So, a friend who I'd met in Alphonse. Jean and I met a couple, Nigel and Jenny in Alphonse, and discovered they lived a couple of miles away from us when we lived in Henley. So we got to know each other socially. And Nigel was a very keen salmon angler, still is. I still fish with him on the Tay.
Yeah.
And I'd not caught a salmon at that stage. So he said, come with me to North Esk and Morpheus Dyke on North Esk.
Great stretch.
And I wanted to catch a fish on the fly, and we got there and the river was up. It was brown and horrible. And Nigel said, look, the only way we're going to catch, it won't be fishable tomorrow, the only way we're going to catch is with a Devon minnow.
Yeah.
And he set me up with this bouncing Betty and Devon minnow and the whole thing. And of course I was familiar with that sort of fishing because I was a coarse angler. And I caught 3 salmon, including a 23 pounder.
Not on the fly.
Not on the fly, unfortunately. But that was sort of almost my most memorable, because on the first day of salmon fishing. And there I was.
That doesn't happen.
No, 3 fish and a 23 pounder.
That's fantastic.
So
was that many moons ago?
Yeah, that would have been 20 years ago at least.
Yeah.
And I've had some nice fish in Iceland, 1 meter fish. So
from mid-Federal.
Yeah, and Vastalsa, which is another river I fished.
Yeah.
And one of those fish on a single-handed rod in a small river.
It's fantastic.
That gives you a run around. Yeah.
Gives you a run around. It certainly doesn't.
Nothing huge in salmon, but plenty of good fish.
And I guess in mid-Federal, you're doing a lot of sight fishing up in the canyons up there. Is great fun. That's
hitching.
And hitching.
Hitching is if I get any opportunity, I hitch. And I caught my first salmon on a bomber last year.
Did you?
Which I'd never fished
Was that
before.
on the Alta?
No, this was in Iceland. My guide there, I just happened to mention I'd never caught a fish on a bomber. He said, right, we're going to... And it's the most ludicrous way of fishing.
Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's crazy, and you learn so much about salmon. Someone sent me a video just last night. They were on the Tweed over the weekend trout fishing at 10:30 at night, and it was in the gloaming, and he was just floating a dry fly in the seam on the far side of the river on a little single hander. Big salmon came and smashed it. And just when you think you know about salmon, isn't that the wonderful thing about this fish though? We can never get ahead of them.
Yeah, and this thing was bobbing along on top of the water, and then this snout came out and just took it gently.
Amazing. So you're as passionate about salmon angling as I am, and many people, because we understand, or you understand like everybody else, how special this fish is.
Yeah.
The F1 of fish, as we're coining it. Here we are at your incredibly idyllic, beautiful stretch of Middle Itchen. Are we here?
Yeah, I guess, yeah. Yep.
It looks to me, I've seen a lot of this river over the years, up and down in the test. This looks very special in as much as it seems to me you go out of your way to keep it as wild and free-flowing as you can.
Yeah, and it looks very natural, I hope. But it takes quite a lot of work to get it like this. When we moved in, is irony. Yeah, when we moved in, due to dropping flows over the years, the river was too wide. And because the river's too wide, the flow is not fast enough. So you get a lot of silt build up. You don't get the weed growth you want. So the first job we did when we moved in was to narrow all the banks, get the flow up. And when we did it, it looked dreadful. It looked like a bomb site. It was scary. But the people doing it, don't worry. In a year or two's time, and they were absolutely right.
Was that the Wild Trout Trust? Who did you use?
They were involved with that. Yeah, the Wild Trout Trust helped us with advice, and we had JCBs in the river and all sorts of stuff, and it was a bit scary. But
were you looking out your window going, "Christ, what have I done?"
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, it then evolved, and as you can probably see here, what we try and do is keep definitely one bank well overgrown, and then the bank we tend to fish from is still pretty overgrown because I like to sort of poke around in there and stay quiet. And we feel it gives the best chance of conservation of the fish. We don't stock. We get a few refugees come from downstream from a fishery does stock, and above us we get them dropped down. But predominantly we have wild trout, but we have a healthy head of other fish as well: roach, chub, perch, pike. And I was scared when I stopped stocking because the prior owner stocked, and I was worried about what would happen. And my advice, if the fishery isn't heavily fished, is try it, because it's surprising the population that builds. It takes a couple of years, because I think those stockfish have to pass on,
Move through, yeah.
and then the wild fish get the freedom, they get the best places to spawn. But there's Mike, my river keeper, does a fabulous job, and he's the same. He's minded like me to keep it as natural and as wild as we can. We fish it with friends. I fish it, and we do some days we give to charities. And I can honestly say I don't think anyone's been here for a charity day and not caught.
Brilliant.
So that's the challenge I keep going on. We've got to get, and we get complete amateurs come here.
Which is what you want, right? You want to
yeah.
encourage them.
Yep.
And young people.
Yep.
Yeah.
And just to walk the banks is a real pleasure. And every time you walk the banks, you see something different.
It's stunning, and I would imagine it is an incredibly healthy ecosystem that you've got going here, and good for you. Long may it continue. It's a fantastic example to set if anybody is lucky enough to be a riparian owner or a stakeholder like you are in one of these chalk streams. This is how it should look, I think.
Yeah, we're proud of it, and there's a lot of owners who are like-minded. So, other owners have different priorities. I think everyone wants to see the river in good condition, because at times we've had some challenges here. Everyone's come together to help meet the challenges. So it's there is a community here trying to make sure the river's as healthy as it can be. And there's that adage, look after the river, fish will look after themselves.
Sure.
So create the right environment and you've got a good chance.
And you did a PAR study, I gather, last year. And am I right in thinking that this stretch had the biggest number of PAR?
Yes.
Counted?
Environment Agency were doing their PAR count, and Mike proudly told me that we had the largest number of PAR per unit length of the river of anywhere.
Well, you can see why, right?
I hope so, yeah.
I mean, the fly life must be fantastic here.
Yeah. And I think Mike's sensible about predation. Cormorants are the main challenge. So we're sensible about predation. We have otters up here and we live with it. Obviously they take some fish, but they don't decimate the river. And they're so lovely to see.
Beautiful.
So,
and you don't have is big stocked brown trouts munching on the PAR.
No, we don't have that. And woody debris, which is a bit of a thing. Mike, when he's removing timber or chopping trees, we often try and lay it in the far bank and just create an environment. And I think that's why the otters can't decimate everything, because the fish have got plenty of places to
hide,
escape to. And that's where your PAR and that's where your small fish, that's the nurseries for them.
Yeah.
So they need that protection.
Well, it seems that it's very well balanced. I mean, I can't vouch for that, but I can't imagine why it wouldn't be an incredibly well balanced little utopia of river that you've got here. It's really stunning. It's mesmeric. Sorry, I just keep getting drawn by it. Let's move on to the last three questions. The last three questions, we always ask the same questions to our guests on the Last Salmon. You had £1 billion to spare on salmon conservation. How would you spend it?
I think we've spoken about the common sense things, to improve the quality of the rivers, to remove obstacles, to create the spawning sites we need. I think that's common sense. We must do that. I think what does need doing, and I guess this is my motor racing head coming here now. You never make a decision in motorsport generally without having the data to base that decision on. Certainly nowadays, the old days of intuitive decisions moved on. You still have to have intuition. You still got to have common sense. You got to see the wood for the trees and all the rest of it.
But you need data to back it.
But you do need that information. And we're struggling for real information, as we spoke about. So I think a fair chunk of that has got to go on some way of understanding what's happening, to know where we can touch, where we can influence, what's really having an impact. How damaging are the salmon farms? We all feel they're damaging. How damaging are they? And where do we put our best efforts? And I think a large chunk of that money has initially got to go on understanding the problem, because you can't fix the problem until you understand it. And I feel we're just lacking information. And it's not apathy to say, we need to go out and get all this information. I think there is some common sense to be done, which certainly will help. We're facing climate change, the temperature's getting hotter, we need to look at tree cover for rivers, we need to see whatever we can do to try and keep the river water temperatures down. But obtaining that information for me is just a vital part of this equation. And getting together, I don't know if you're familiar with a charity called Race Against Dementia, which is
yes, I am.
Jackie Stewart set up.
Yeah.
And what Jackie's done, which I think is smart, is he's funding research. He assumes that a solution will come by funding the research. So the money is all going into research. And from that, he hopes that solutions will come. In a way, we're the same with salmon. We all have slightly different opinions and different directions we want to go. We're going to have a proper concerted effort. We've got to find some data. We've got to understand the problem.
Absolutely. So, and you can spend too much money on harvesting data and audits and research and development, and that makes sense coming from your good self. And you're proof of the pudding, right? I mean, you do have to research and engineer and find your solutions. It's not something. I love what you said then about gone are the days of being reactive and intuitive. You do need something to back it up.
Yeah.
And that's where there is, as we've spoken about, sadly, that's where there's a real need with the Atlantic salmon. There's still so much we don't know.
Yeah.
You have no money. What would you do for the salmon conservation cause?
I think communication. I think getting the message out there is vital. I think this canary in the coal mine aspect. I have to hold myself when I'm at a dinner or somewhere and farm salmon gets served, and obviously I don't eat it. And if people will engage, I don't force it upon them, but I do enlighten them into what they're eating.
Yeah.
And they don't realise.
I never come across anybody that does know why they shouldn't be eating farmed salmon. It's crazy. And when you say, well, the government are recommending you don't eat too much of it, and pregnant women shouldn't be eating it, etc. That communication and just spreading a message is the thing we can all do as anglers. Yeah.
That's the no money aspect.
Do you know what? So many people say that, and there's a reason why. Communication, word of mouth is everything, especially when you are fighting the dark forces of what is possibly the most powerful marketing department ever existed, that of farm salmon.
Yep.
The fact that you and I both agree that no matter who we share this information with and tell them about farm salmon, nobody knows.
No.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, organic farm salmon.
Organic Scottish farm salmon. How brilliant is that, Mark? And of course, I don't know whether you know this story. There's a fantastic book called The New Fish. Came out a few years ago, and it catalogues the rise of farm salmon and how it took over the world and the supermarket shelves and in the restaurants. Sushi is a big one. And everybody, when they think of sushi, you think of a nice pinky orange strip of salmon on a piece of white rice, nice little morsel. The Norwegian fish farmers back in the 70s went over to Japan because they knew that would be an incredible market to get into if they could crack it, and convinced them that this fish would be great tasting in their sushi, in their swathe of sushi, smorgasbord of sushi recipe, should I say, and they could sell it to them at a very good price. And sure enough, they've done it. I mean, of course, there are no Atlantic salmon anywhere near Japan, yet they have managed to infiltrate that culture. So much so that when sushi exploded in the 80s and 90s as a cuisine, That's what everybody thinks about, Atlantic salmon, don't they? That's the imagery of sushi. Isn't that, to me, the most incredible piece of marketing? To change a country's culture and the way it feeds.
The chemically dyed,
Farmed. Engineered, farmed piece of meat is now absolutely hand in glove when it comes to the Japanese culinary culture. Crazy, amazing. So that's what we're fighting, that level of marketing. It's your last day on Earth, Ross. It's not going to be for a long time yet. And bearing in mind, you have fished probably more than your fair share. Well earned though, so hats off. But more than your fair share of fly fishing and wonderful locations. But it's your last day on Earth. You have to choose one. Where would you go and who would you be with?
I have been very fortunate, and fishing the Alta last year was really very special, and catching a salmon in Scotland is still one of the very special experiences. But what I've started to experience in my saltwater fishing is the family getting involved, and my son-in-laws now, when we go there, they fish, and next year is our 50th wedding anniversary, so we're taking everybody to Seychelles as part of our 50th. And I want my grandkids to catch a bonefish.
How old are your grandkids?
The eldest is 17, the youngest is 12. So my ambition is to spend that week making sure they all catch a bonefish. And that will be it won't be a last day, it'll be last week.
I'm hoping that's not your last day or last week, but that's how you'd like to spend it.
That's how, and I just know when they do it, the feeling of the revelation, the horror, the shock, the excitement, the adrenaline they'll get from it when they hook that bonefish will be I want to be there.
And where is that? Where are you taking them?
Alphonse.
Alphonse.
Yeah.
So the Alphonse is the answer?
It is, yeah. And with my grandkids, because I'm seeing my grandkids start to mature now. And I have to say, when our daughters grew up, I was on the road. Saw less of them than I perhaps could have done. And so seeing my grandkids, now I'm retired, seeing my grandkids, they were out in Italy last week, we're playing golf together and all sorts of stuff. And just seeing them develop and change and evolve is a real pleasure. And so next year, if that was my last day's fishing, then I'd be happy.
Ross, thank you so much.
Yeah,
I wish you the best.
It's a real pleasure.
Thank you, and I wish you the best of luck over in Alphonse with your grandkids. You must come back on and tell us how you did with them.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, and thank you for allowing us to chat to you here in these beautiful surroundings. And I think it's about to rain, so it's a good time to wrap it up.
Yeah, it looks like it's. We could do with a bit of water.
Yeah, we could actually a little bit.
Yeah.
Thank you very much,
Thanks.
Ross Brawn. Thank you.
My thanks to Ross Brawn, and as always, keep fighting for our wild salmon.